Alright guys, in today's video we're going to be talking a little bit about Sony recently announcing that they will no longer be attending PAX East 2020, and this has created a little bit of a conversation which I want to give my thoughts on here. But on top of that, I also want to talk about the implications that this could possibly have when it comes to the PlayStation 5, more specifically talking about the reveal of the PlayStation 5 and how Sony is going to handle that. I think there is something that I want to say is a little bit obvious here that maybe some are missing. Now, when I say obvious, I don't mean to say that as if I know or I'm telling you for a fact, because I don't know, and I don't know if this is actually what's going to happen, but it is starting to seem much more likely. And what I'm trying to get at here is that it's starting to seem very likely, actually much more likely, that Sony is going to be doing a type of state of play pre-recorded PlayStation 5 reveal event and not something live. So yeah, before getting into this and discussing it, can you do me a favor and hit the like button? Really helps the videos out more than you guys know. It's the easiest way for you to show your support here on the channel. And be sure to hit the subscribe button as well. But for those who are not aware, Sony was set to attend PAX East 2020, and it was going to kick off on February 27th. And one of the big things here regarding PAX East 2020 is that Naughty Dog was going to be there with The Last of Us Part 2, and it was going to be the first time that the public could actually get their hands on The Last of Us Part 2 and play it for themselves, at least a demo. And I was actually looking forward to this myself because it would have been a nice opportunity to hear what people outside of games journalists have to say about finally playing it. But now that's not going to happen, and I believe, Naughty Dog came out and said something where they know it's going to make the wait a little bit more difficult, but they will have more to show and talk about leading up to the launch. And Sony provided an actual update here on their blog, where they said today, Sony Interactive Entertainment made the decision to cancel its participation at PAX East in Boston this year due to the increasing concerns related to COVID-19, also known as novel coronavirus. We felt this was the safest option as the situation is changing daily. We are disappointed to cancel our participation in this event, but the health and safety of our global workforce is our highest concern. And I've seen some really bizarre takes on this. I've seen some people getting angry, saying that this is really bad of Sony and that Sony should go anyway, even though they clearly have reasons for being concerned here. I've seen some people acting as if this is some type of lie and Sony's actually hiding something. I have no idea what they could possibly be hiding or why they would be lying about something like this. And I've seen some people have the take that this means Sony has nothing to show this year and this is just further proof of that. Listen, I think all of these takes are a little bit ridiculous. Listen, if Sony has reason to be concerned here, then I support their decision, because this is a matter of, yes, people's health and safety does come first. It's unfortunate that some people are not going to be able to experience The Last of Us Part 2, at least a demo of it. And I don't think this is a good thing for Sony, as in I don't think it's something they wanted to do, because PAX East, it's not the biggest thing for them, but there's no doubt that they were going to have a significant presence there, a lot of games, and so I'm sure they're disappointed that they have to do this, but I think they are making a smart decision, because if they really do believe that there's something here to be concerned about, then yeah, you put the health of your employees and your workforce first. I can totally respect that decision. The one thing that people are saying that I will say maybe does seem a little bit truthful here, potentially, is that this does hurt Sony because they have been so silent, they have been so quiet, and the only thing they've really done so far in 2020 when it comes to talking about next gen to any significant degree is at CES, which happened back in January, where they had the logo reveal and they kind of reaffirmed some of the core features of the PlayStation 5. And so I can agree that this probably doesn't help that. Anybody who's been following the channel for a little bit or following PlayStation all, that they have been very quiet. And there are those of us who are not happy about it and getting impatient. But there are also those of us that are very patient and are just taking the approach where, hey, when Sony's ready to talk about it, they're ready to talk about it. That is the approach I have. I feel as though I have no problem being patient, and I would definitely prefer Sony do things at their own pace when they feel that they're confident and ready, rather than feel like pressured to have to rush anything. And so when we think about the reveal of the PlayStation 5, this is the big thing that everybody's been waiting for. A lot of us were pretty sure that it was going to happen sometime in February, and that's really not looking likely. I think there's 8 or 9 days left in February, and because of that, I mean, the chances of them revealing it now this month are very low. And so we look to March. And the thing about March is that is when GDC is happening. I believe it's happening on the 16th through the 20th. And the general consensus is that if Sony decides to not reveal the PlayStation 5 before GDC happens this year, then we are going to see a massive flood of leaks that are going to happen, because one thing that developers want to really talk about at GDC is next gen. They want to talk about the next gen consoles and everything regarding them. And so a lot of people are basically coming out here and saying, look, if Sony doesn't have this event before GDC, everything, or at least a lot of stuff, is going to get leaked. Maybe Sony doesn't care about that. I have to imagine they do care about that. You know that they probably want to control the messaging here. So if I had to once again speculate as to when we're going to see that event, if it is even going to be an event, and I say that because, again, we don't know if Sony's going to be doing it live now. I think it's going to happen probably within the first week or two of March, and hopefully we will be hearing about it soon. I don't mean to sound like a broken record, but unfortunately all we can do at this moment in time is speculate about when Sony's finally going to talk about their next-gen plans to a greater degree here. And the idea of them doing it with a big live event in New York, I think that's starting to seem more and more unlikely, actually. And what's starting to seem more and more likely to me at this point is that Sony is going to have some type of pre-recorded big state of play type event, or maybe they won't even call it state of play. I mean, maybe they could just literally call it the PlayStation 5 reveal, but it will be pre-recorded. Because if you look at what Sony's doing here, if they are, canceling their presence at PAX East, due to concerns over the coronavirus. And I think something that a lot of people maybe don't understand is that they have a lot of different employees all around the world, including China, that fly out and travel. And when you talk about events like this, or any event really, there's just a lot of traveling going on, and from people all over the world. So if this is something, if this is one of the reasons why they're canceling it because of concerns over the coronavirus, you have to imagine that the chances of them doing a live event where they gather everybody together, right, for the PlayStation 5 is maybe unlikely. And so this tells me that Sony's plans may have actually shifted, and we don't know. I mean, the truth is there's no way for us to know unless somebody at Sony just comes out and says something directly to us. But there is maybe the possibility here that Sony did have plans to do something in February, and maybe some of those leaks we heard about, some of them, not all of them, maybe some of them did actually have some credence, but Sony's plans kind of maybe, I don't want to say changed last minute, although there's a possibility they could have changed. For all we know, maybe Sony was really planning on doing a big live reveal of the PlayStation 5 sometime in February, but because of everything that's been happening, not just with the coronavirus, but clearly that's a big concern of Sony's, as you can see here with this news, but maybe also due to some of the, I don't want to say roadblocks, but some of the bumps in the road that they're encountering with the cost of the PlayStation 5, and how maybe it's a little bit higher than they thought, and they really have to take some extra time to really decide how they want to approach talking about this console, when they want to talk about the price. Again, we know that these things can kind of change last minute. That has been proven in the past. If there's one thing we do know, is that things like this can change at the last minute. And the idea that Sony maybe decided, maybe instead of doing a live reveal event, it's best we do some type of pre-recorded massive state of play. I have speculated about this before. That could be something we're looking at right now. It wouldn't surprise me if on March 1st, Sony announces that they're going to have a big PlayStation 5 state of play that's happening in a week, maybe March 6th or 7th or whatever. I don't know what day that falls on, but I could see them doing something like that. And frankly, I would be on board with that. I think that would be great. I think that there's actually a distinct advantage where if Sony were to actually have something pre-recorded and bring it out rather than having a live show. I mean, of course, live shows are always cool, but there's always those cringy, awkward moments. So you could avoid that. The messaging could be as clear and precise as it possibly can be, and they can trim the fat essentially. There can be, it doesn't have to be a long thing. Maybe it could be 30 minutes. Well, maybe 30 minutes is a little bit short. Maybe like an hour. And I think that it could go really well for them. Again, I am just speculating here. This is pure speculation, but one thing that we do know for sure based off of this information is that Sony is taking the coronavirus very, very seriously, and they're taking it seriously to the point where they don't even want to attend an event due to the possibility of, what could happen with this virus and having people travel. And when you think about that, it really is starting to seem much more likely that Sony is going to do some type of pre-recorded state of play. I mean, if you think about it, to be honest, all signs are pointing at this point that they will be doing a state of play. I say this because they put a big emphasis on state of play in 2019, and you have to imagine that they're going to continue to do that in 2020. They want State of Play to be viewed as the place where you can go to get all your PlayStation news and information, and they also want it to be a place where you can get some big reveals. Hence, you saw The Last of Us, during a State of Play. You saw, actually Ghost of Tsushima, there was a little tease during a State of Play, but they ended up revealing that more at the Game Awards. But the point is, Sony has made it clear that State of Play is the future for PlayStation announcements. And with that in mind, also keeping in mind, once again, sorry to sound like a broken record, but the coronavirus is something Sony's taking very seriously here, to the point where they're willing to cancel their presence at Pax East. Just don't be surprised if this is how the PlayStation 5 ends up being revealed in March. And again, there are some benefits to that. They don't have to worry about flying people out, and they can maintain the health and safety of their employees and everybody else involved. And they can keep the messaging very clear, very concise, and it's an easy way to just relay the information. So that's going to do it for the video, guys. I apologize. I did way more rambling in this video than I intended to. But at this point, I want you to let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. How do you feel about Sony canceling their attendance at PAX East? And do you think that this is a clear sign that when they do reveal the PlayStation 5, it's actually not going to be a live event? It's going to be through a state of play. I will be very interested to see what you guys have to say. Again, leave the video a like if you did enjoy it or found it informative. Subscribe to the channel if you're new and haven't already. Hit the bell notification icon so you never miss an upload. And feel free to share this video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.